Today on the Shrewd Dudes Podcast Thursday live stream, we are going to talk about a few different things. Once again, we have double trouble in This Week in Satire. We are addressing many things some would consider to be unnatural, including other terrible trades the United States administration is considering. Just horrible things.
Horrible things.
And also we will be discussing Donald Trump's big reveal, major announcement. He's bringing Pogs back.
Yeah, it's going to make those things happen.
Oh, yeah, make those happen again. Which apparently,
Mm-hmm.
Pogs mean, was it orange ganache or something? It's just like, what? Anyways, in the rants of the week, we are discussing Danny's trip to the hospital and a 14-year-old child that was removed from the kidney transplant donor list.
Yeah.
Why? Because she's unvaccinated.
Because medical experts are dumb.
I would say evil.
And evil.
Dumb works too.
Funny how close those two things come.
Yep. In the It's a Trap segment, a segment which we have not done in months.
Mm-hmm. We're bringing it back.
Bringing it back to talk about drag queens at the White House and how they want kids to sing and suck. Then finally, in our douche of the week, we are going after a comedian who pulled the race card at a hotel and got
won.
a innocent, humble employee fired.
Regular person.
All of that and more on the Shrewd Dudes Podcast.
So dramatic.
Alrighty. So
we're back, bro. Back.
Well, you're back from
I'm back.
A week off, and I'm back from Tuesday.
A week off?
Yeah, it's a week off for you.
Tuesday off. Well, I mean, yeah, if you want to put it that way, but
it's been Thursday to Thursday, Bucko. Thursday to Thursday.
Whatever. I still feel like I'm coming back, alive and ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
To be fair, I had a noble reason not to be here on time.
Yes, you did. Explain to everyone your noble reason, and I shall do some shameless promoting.
Okay. So basically on Tuesday, my coworker / roommate / friend had a gigantic fall from a ladder. So he was doing a second-story window on the house and using an extension ladder to do it. And the ladder basically completely went on him, and he went down like a sack of potatoes, and I had to take him to the hospital, not knowing what the heck he had done. But like, this is a guy that has a very high threshold for pain, and he was in agonizing, like excruciating pain, where he basically couldn't even hold back like his like grimaces and all that. I'm like, okay, if you are grimacing in pain, that is a big deal, because he normally can stand all sorts of pain. So we have to take him to the hospital, and I think in a little bit in our rant of the week, I will tell you more about that experience. But a good update on my buddy is that he had to get surgery because he did a ton of damage to his body. Basically what happened is his tibia, which connects it to his socket, his tibia basically got like a little bit dented, and so there's like a little indent on it, and so they had to apparently like do a surgery, attach like a bone graft to it, so that it wouldn't cause any damage, and they had to do a bunch of other stuff to basically get his foot to the point where it can actually be healed and it won't cause him like lifelong damage. So yeah, the poor guy he's been through a lot, and he's past the worst part, which is the surgery, but now comes the fun recovery. So anybody who's out there as a Christian, definitely recommend praying for him, because he's in the world of hurt.
Yep.
So, yeah, that was a fun week, man.
Yeah, I didn't have basically anything. The only thing crazy I had was yesterday when I was like working and doing stuff on the roof, and we're just doing normal everyday things, working with the gravel bucket and the hoist. And the bucket just suddenly drops on the buggy which my buddy is driving. And I'm like, well, that's weird. And he like looks around and he comes back and he shows me this like pulley. And I'm like, oh, that's odd. And I look over at the hoist and I'm like, the hoist is missing a pulley. Interesting. And I look at the pulley and I'm like, oh, the pulley doesn't have a hole for a bolt to go through. And then I realized what happened. The weight of the gravel had sheared the bolt clear through.
Seriously?
And it just shot out like a rocket. I was like, well, thank goodness nobody was underneath that. But sometimes it can get
pretty epic.
Well, not so epic, but it's just like, hokey Dinah. The things we do for work. Like, sometimes it's a little sketch. But
just a little bit?
Well, yeah. But this is I'm into like my last week at the company, essentially.
Yeah, it's like you're finishing it up, man.
Yep. I'm definitely looking forward to that.
Steven's moving out. Moving on.
I'm so done with just like the sun has set. Yeah, let's keep going. And I'm like, no, stop it. Like, you keep asking yourselves, well, we could. And I'm like, but you never asked yourself, should we? And I'm like, no, you should not. You should not do that. You should not keep going into the dark. They're like, but what if we got like lights? And I'm like, I don't care if you get lights. Don't do it. Because everybody will need lights. It's just ridiculous.
It is pretty ridiculous.
It is pretty ridiculous. Anyways, enough about all of that silliness. Let's talk about This Week in Satire.
With the regular silliness.
The regular silliness, indeed.
Get her done. Get her done.
So, from the Babylon Bee. After Griner, here are 10 more trades the Biden administration is looking to make in 2023. Ooh. So we'll go 1, 2, 1, 2. While some have called trading Brittany Griner for Russia's merchant of death the worst trade in the history of trades, the Biden administration isn't done yet. Here are 10 more trades our commander-in-chief is planning to make before 2023 is over. Well, 2023 hasn't even begun yet.
We're saved. We're saved!
I know. So number 1.
The commander in... what's that thing called? Totally ruined it. That's a commander in Alzheimer's.
Commander in Alzheimer's. All right. Number 1, Charizard for Weedle. There hasn't been a trade this lopsided since Griner for the Merchant of Death, except that is not actually how you spell Weedle.
What the heck's a Weedle?
Okay.
Is this a Pokemon reference?
Yes, it is a Pokemon reference.
Okay, I literally don't know what a Weedle is. I know what Charizard is.
A Weedle. It is like...
Weedle's like the weakest, like...
it's like Pokemon? It's super duper weak. Usually in like any generation which has a Weedle, Weedle is found in like the first like 3 levels of the game.
Oh, really?
It's like one of the first things you encounter, and it's exceptionally weak. And then it evolves into something that cannot attack. Which I'm like, why is this a thing? It can't attack.
Wow.
All it can do is use one move called Harden. And so it just makes its shell really tough. And so anytime you want to evolve that thing, you have to throw it into a fight and then immediately pull it back so that you can send something else in to give it experience so it can level up into something that's sort of useful.
Sounds terrible.
It is.
Truly, I can understand now. Terrible. Okay. Thank you for explaining that. That totally helps me out because I was like, what the heck's a Weedle? I'm like, oh, okay, now it makes sense.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to go with number 2, Gogurt for some carrots. Yeah, oh, crap. Oh, that would be like the worst like trade. This strict downgrade is yet more evidence that our current administration does not understand the art of the deal. I can't do it. Sorry.
The art of the deal.
That's much better. All
right. Number 3, 50 billion to Ukraine in exchange for a nice thank you note from Zelensky. Tasteful red crayon on blue and yellow construction paper with a brief postscript requesting immediate tactical nuclear strikes on Russia.
Oh, he would
Damn
do it.
you,
He would totally do it.
Zelensky! Damn
He would
you!
so do it.
Oh, he
would so do
totally
it.
would.
All right, number 4, Joe Manchin for Mitt Romney. Holy crap! A fair deal since they lost Cinema and Gabbard as bargaining chips.
Mhm.
It's funny because I don't really see. I almost I hate to say this.
That's not
I
a
feel
bad
like
deal.
I hate to say it, but I think Joe Manchin is actually a better Republican
Yep.
than Mitt Romney.
Well, because Joe Manchin, like Mitt Romney, is just being an idiot because he's
Complete
in
idiot.
Utah, which is like one of the reddest states in the entire country, and he's like, "Well, I'm going to oppose the mainstream branch of the Republican Party because I don't like Trump."
Oh, he's the best. He's the best example of a squish.
Yep.
A guy who has absolutely zero, like more any kind of moral fiber. He's basically like a jellyfish.
Yes.
Mhm.
All right. Number 5, Brittany Griner for Paul Whelan. Finally, the Biden administration can quiet all this conservative blowback so long as Russia values diverse basketball stars as much as we do. See, that's a deal that I would take because Paul Whelan.
I'd be totally cool with
Paul
that.
Whelan was the Marine that we left behind.
Yeah, you never leave a man behind. Apparently, unless it's like a white guy.
Well,
that's the new rule.
You never leave a man behind unless the option is taking a lesbian black basketball athlete.
Yeah, don't you feel free yet, Stephen? Don't you feel free?
Well, I'm a Canadian. We never feel free.
Not anymore. Number 6, our last shred of dignity as a nation for another season of Bachelor in Paradise. It's a small price to pay for salvation, or at least for 60 more episodes of the delicious guilty pleasure. Well, you know what? To be fair, like America and Canada are selling all dignity for virtually nothing. Like we're not even getting anything from the deal, so that's not too far off. Yeah. Not too far off indeed.
There is no deal. No deal. Alrighty.
Take it on, man.
Our children for the LGBTQ lobby. It's an important voter block, everybody.
Jeez. It's basically like predatory behavior at its worst.
Pedophiles.
Number 8. Oh, pedophiles are everywhere. They're everywhere, I tell you. Trade blows with Coke Pop. I don't think Biden won't do it. He's tough. He's a tough nut. He's like Mr. Burns when he's like, I'll crush him as easily as you can crush an ant. And he goes to crush the ant. The ant's like, toss him over, and he falls over. And he's like, please don't hurt me. That's basically like what I picture Joe Biden as.
Yep.
Like he basically couldn't hurt a fly if he wanted to.
I'm just seeing this one and I'm like, actually, that's really funny. Elon Musk by Santa's Workshop releases emails showing the naughty and nice lists. All right, but anyways, number 9, Florida for Cuba. Now we can get rid of Death Santas and enjoy some real socialism because it's never real socialism. It's always over there.
Super compassionate.
It's over the next hill.
Just one. It's like just one more time. Just one more time, and this time it'll work.
We promise.
All right, number 10. Number 10. Mean tweets for inflation, disgraceful Afghanistan pullout, and World War III. Wait, we did that one already.
Yep.
Yeah,
you did.
We're already there. It's going.
Did. So, let's talk about the mean tweeter. Trump announces new line of collectible pogs.
I mean, of all the things to bring back, that was one of the few fads that I was like, this is stupid.
Yep.
Like I remember seeing people play that when I was in like
I never realized how to play that. I thought it was just something you collect.
It was literally the dumbest game. You literally put them in a stack and you take your little pog and you toss it, and if you can manage whatever ones you flip over are the ones that you win, essentially. It's like a terrible version of marbles.
Lovely. Or jacks.
Like it was not even fun, even when they had it.
Yeah, I never played it. Our school just banned other things.
Yep.
Yeah. My elementary, not my elementary school, but my junior high, which ended up being my senior high as well.
Okay.
But yeah, they did not take kindly to like Pokemon cards or Yu-Gi-Oh cards or Beyblades. And so yeah, there was like illicit underground trades
Yeah, but those were legitimate, like like playing cards.
They were.
You could actually do stuff with them, and they required a little bit of skill to be able to play with them. Whereas Pogs is like, hey, I just bought this like $5,000 Pog. Cool, let's play. Boo! I just lost my $5,000 Pog. Great. It's like, ugh.
Yep. Anyways, so Donald Trump announced a new line of collectible Pogs Thursday, devastating presidential hopeful Ron DeSantis.
Oh, yeah.
This marks the first time brand new Pogs have been commissioned in 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
POG stands for Passion Orange Guava. Not many people know that, but I do because I'm the POG king, Trump said on Truth Social. Oh, wait, no, I have to do it in Trump voice. Every POG features a picture of me drawn by the best. The best artists, everybody. We have the best people working on them. Look at this detail. It's stylish like you wouldn't believe. Believe me, so handsome. Everybody says so. According to sources, Trump is hopeful this new line of Pogs will help him attract young voters ahead of the 2024 presidential election. In 2020, Trump did very well amongst older voters, but lost millennials and Gen Z members in urban areas. Some say Pogs are going to change all that. Each Pog retails for $99.99, a special edition Trump Slammer, which Trump says is guaranteed to flip over your opponent's Pogs, retails for $249.95. Proceeds from sales go to Trump's presidential campaign fund. I just smoked you, wrote a triumphant Trump as he battled children outside of his Mar-a-Lago resort. Maybe next time you'll do better with some Trump Pogs. Tell your parents. At publishing time, Trump announced that all Pogs would be digital NFTs and that only he would possess physical copies so that he could continue to dominate. The reason for this story, if you don't realize, Trump announced that he would have a major announcement. He announced that he would make $99 digital trading cards of himself. So he actually made NFTs of himself for $99, and they look like this.
Mm-hmm.
And
oh, geez.
Yep. So I thought it was so dumb because it was just like, there's a major announcement coming. America needs a superhero, and it's like, oh, like, are you like announcing like supporting
something significant,
like somebody interesting running for like Speaker of the House, maybe even yourself, because that'd be kind of crazy, or Mike Lindell. It's like, nope, NFTs, which are severely on the downturn, and it's like, oh, you kind of came in late to the party there, not as late as Pogs, but
Yep.
These limited edition cards feature amazing art of my life and career.
It's incredibly cringe.
Oh, it's so cringe.
Yeah, it's like I know, like I don't know if you saw those DeSantis political ads. Like they had this one DeSantis ad where like it was supposed to be like a Top Gun one, and I'm just like, oh, like that kind of like makes him look more cheesy than serious.
See, like I watched the Top Gun one, and I'm like, yes, it was cheesy,
super cheesy,
but it did a decent job of actually like showcasing how he dealt with the media and how he did in terms of like how he compared in dealing with the media from like him and Trump. It was just like, oh yeah, DeSantis is very, very good at this. But this is the video that Trump posted in regard to his NFTs.
America needs a superhero.
Oh, it's like,
wow.
Why?
I think, okay, all I can think of is that what he's going for is he's going for the, like, he just wants to get like pop, like he wants to get buzz. And like, it's all remember last month, he had like the terrible month. Everything was just stupid.
Oh, everything was terrible.
He had so many terrible things. I'm guessing that he's going for the showmanship just to kind of like get people going on a thing that is dumb enough that his critics are going to jump all over, but that people are just kind of like, talking about something absurd. It's almost like a distraction.
Yeah. Well, he did need something to distract people after the disaster that was the past 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Because like after inviting Milo and Fuentes and Kanye It was just like,
Yep.
oh, well, that went really badly for you.
Yep.
And
And
it's just
losing
like,
that court case.
yep,
And
everything was just going terribly.
Mhm.
So he's just like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? I'll make NFTs. And it's like, nope, not that. Not that.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
That's not something that I would have suggested for you to do.
Mm-hmm.
But that's Trump for you. You just never can predict what he's
Good old
about to
Trump.
do.
Well, and it's and that's the thing. Like, Trump has been in the media, entertainment for like ages, right? He like if there's one thing he knows how to, I don't know, he knows how to
Attract
entertain.
attention.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of his thing. He's kind of bombastic that way, right? So I don't know. Maybe he thought this would be kind of a fun distraction. I mean, we're laughing about it, so for us, it's like enjoyable.
We're laughing
the
about
left-
it, but more laughing at him.
No, we are laughing at him. But I mean, to be fair, you have to remember, for the longest time remember, like, people were making all sorts of like memes and pictures of Trump as like a completely and totally over the top kind of like riding a grizzly bear or something like that. Those were popular for a long time.
They were.
So I can imagine that he's trying to like almost like play off that. It's like, oh, everyone's doing these, I'm gonna make my own, and it's almost like playing into the whole thing. So I don't know. I enjoy it. It's silly. To be fair, this doesn't necessarily make me dislike Trump or like I'm just like, whatever. This is stupid and fun, silly to laugh at. Whatever.
Yeah. It is sort of stupid and fun.
It is. It is.
Let's see.
We ready to go, man? Whatever.
There we go. I'm just muting this right away. All right. Yeah, we're good to go. We're good to go.
Cool.
You're good to go. Okay. So before we start the rant of the week, we'll briefly have an interlude of Danny ranting about his hospital trip. So this is a brief summary of how he felt.
Whoa, hold on. You're doing this wrong. We're not. We talked about this before. So like, do the rant of the week, and we'll actually go into it, man. Come on. See, this is why this is why I have to have like a little rehearsal, man.
This is Danny's rant.
Wait, what are you doing? Do you just want me to talk, or are you gonna do the rant of the week? I
don't know why it doesn't.
Oh, you did do it. Okay, so it's on there.
Yes.
Okay, because I can't see it.
I know it's a delay for you.
Okay,
dang it.
Cool. So we're good.
Sorry, now you're good. Yep.
Okay, cool. So today's rant of the week was brought to you by the Peter Lougheed Hospital. Like, seriously, it was so obviously, like I talked about earlier, I went to the Peter Lougheed Hospital to help my friend, because my friend was injured and had to bring him in there. What I didn't realize is that the Peter Lougheed Hospital, and I'm guessing most of the other major hospitals here in Calgary, they've all decided to be stupid and decided like, hey, we're gonna do mask mandates in a place where like we have single payer healthcare in Alberta. That means you don't have another option. If you can't get healthcare from a hospital, you're out of luck. The fact that they're holding you hostage and telling you, by the way, in order to enter this building, you basically have to play along with our stupid game. It's like we're back in those early days, back during like the lovely days of COVID, where you walk into a restaurant and they're like, by the way, you need to put on this mask. I'm like, well, nobody else there is wearing masks. Like, oh, that's because they're sitting. So you want me to put on this piece of fabric over my face for the 5 steps that I'm going to go to sit at the table, and then I can take that mask off? Yeah. I'm like, you're an idiot. But everyone had to play along in this stupid game. That's the stupidity. So I walk into the hospital, and several times they have these gatekeepers. They literally have people sitting at the front. They're like, here's your mask. Here's your mask. And I'm like, what's this for? It's like, oh, it's required. Everyone has to wear a mask. I'm like, can you explain that to me? Why do people have to wear a mask? And I'm literally going through, like, one time I go through with like 3 people who are all trying to explain it to me. And I'm like, I told them, like, I can't wear a mask. I have I have an exemption. They're like, oh, don't worry. We have a face shield. And I'm like, excuse me? Like, oh, you can wear a face shield. I'm like, I need you to like explain to me, how does this work? What are you trying to protect people from? Oh, it's to protect people from what? And she's like, oh, like from the flu. That's a virus. Oh, from RSV. That's a virus. Oh, and also from COVID, which is a virus, which are all airborne. It's like, yeah, but this thing acts like a splash guard. I'm like, viruses don't work that way. They don't hit plastic and like, ooh, that's it. They've done. They circulate in the air. And not only am I not protecting anybody, but I'm not being protected at all. Do you realize how stupid this is? And they're like, no, it's science. And like, they're trying to literally defend us like they're like somehow they know anything. And I'm just like, you people don't know a thing. Like it was, and I had to run into this with several people where I'm pointing out, and of course, I'm trying to avoid getting upset as I'm talking, because you know how it works. You get upset, then they call security, and off you go, right? So you have to do this calmly, because you understand the way that this works is they hold all the power, and they have all the powers on it. It's called big stick morality. We have the bigger stick. We make the rules, and because we have the big stick, we're right. That's how it works. You're not allowed to contest, right? And so I literally put on that stupid face shield, only because I wanted to see my friend, and I'm like, well, I want to support him. But this one lady says you have to put on this surgical mask. I'm like because I had one of those balaclavas, like a fabric face covering, and I'm like, well, what's wrong with this? It's like, oh, it's not surgical. It's not a surgical mask. You have to have a surgical grade. I'm like, you literally have people walking around this hospital with face shields, which are not surgical grade, and those things stop nothing. But you're telling me that those people can walk around with a surgical, like a face plastic, but I can't walk around with a balaclava. So is this really about science? Can you explain to me the science, or is this just a guilt trip? Or sorry, a power trip? I told the lady, and she gives me this glare, and I'm like, just want to make sure that we understand that what you're asking me to do is stupid. That's all I wanted to know. Put on my little thing, and I walk off, and as soon as I walk through the door, I'm like, take it off, throw it in the garbage. I was just like, this is stupid. So why is this important? Because it is infuriating going to a hospital where you have doctors, you have nurses, you have all these healthcare practitioners, people that are supposed to know about healthcare and about science. And I feel like I'm surrounded by idiots. Literally, I feel like every single person in this hospital is an absolute idiot. And I don't mean to be mean, but they should know better. If anybody knows the science about masks, they should know. But how can you have any confidence that these people know how to do healthcare if they are all basically brain dead drones walk around? It's like I told Steven, I feel like that scene from Spaceballs, and here's basically what I felt like. If Steven can put the scene, here's what I felt like I was observing as I'm walking through the hospital. Yeah, you can go ahead.
All right. I have a brief story about my experience, but I'll let that slide for now.
Careful, you idiot! I said across her nose, not up it.
Sorry, sir. Doing my best.
Who made that man a gunner?
I did, sir. He's my cousin.
Who is he?
He's an asshole, sir.
I know that.
I know
What's
that.
his name?
That is his name, sir. Asshole. Major asshole.
And his cousin?
He's an asshole, too, sir. Gunner's mate, first class, Philip Asshole.
How many assholes we got on this ship anyhow? Yo!
Yo!
That is what I felt like going into that hospital. I'm just like, is it literally every single person in this entire hospital is walking around with complete ignorance? It's like, these are the people that are supposed to know better, and they're all mindless, ignorant drones. It's infuriating. I'm like, I should not know more about the science than these people do.
Yep. Well, as I was saying a little bit, when we had our youngest at the hospital, and it was right at the height of COVID in 2020, and so I was just hanging out in Steph's room, Steph had some. She had conditions that were very common in pregnancy, but they're like, "Oh my gosh, that's a COVID symptom. We have to put you on immediate isolation." And so they treated us differently than everybody else. I was just like, "Yay, this is great." So stupid. And so I went down to the cafeteria, came back, got like a sandwich for myself and Steph. I'm eating, and the nurse is like, "Well, you have to like, we should really be putting that mask on, like put it up in between bites." And I'm like, "That's stupid. I'm not going to do that." And then I'm like, "I have it around my chin," and she's like, "Sir, like you should really be wearing it around your mouth and nose." And I'm like, "Ma'am, I know what the protocol is for this type of isolation, and not one of you have followed it. So unless you want to be reported for like not following proper hospital procedures, then you're going to shush." And then they didn't after that.
No, but like, did you explain to them why, like what they were doing? Because you told me
No,
what they were going to do.
no, I did. I like, you should know this. Like, you know when you need to put on a mask. I'm like, you guys have not taken it off. You guys enter every single room with the same mask.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's a violation of protocol. I know it's easy, but it's a violation of protocol.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, like when I had to repark, I would throw out the mask and then I would get a new one every single time.
Mm-hmm.
And the security guard is like, "Well, you don't need to throw it out and get a new one every time." I'm like, "Nope." I'm like, in order to like actually be practicing proper mask etiquette, yes, you do. And the fact that you're telling me that I shouldn't be taking one every time shows that you know nothing of how this all works.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, he didn't bother me after that.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Like,
anyways,
we don't have hatred against these people.
no, we're not begrudging them, but
because most of the people that are gatekeepers are literally told, do this or else you're fired. That's basically their job. Like, you're not there to educate people. You're literally there, do this or we're gonna kick you out.
you're the rubber stamper.
Yeah. And it's sad.
Well, it's the rubber stamping mentality that led to this. So, like, from Fox News, teen denied kidney transplant because she's not vaccinated for COVID, say parents. So, appearing on Fox and Friends Weekend on Saturday morning to discuss the dire medical dilemma their family is facing, the parents of a teenage girl who's not vaccinated against COVID-19 revealed that her daughter has been unable to move forward with the kidney transplant she needs at Duke University Hospital in Durham, North Carolina. Chrissy Hicks, the mom of 14-year-old Yulia Hicks, recounted her exchange about the issue with a medical official. I said, "So basically you're telling us that if she does not get the vaccine, she's not getting a transplant," Chrissy Hicks said. The medical employee said, "Yes, that's the one thing that is holding us up." So, of course, they adopted their daughter Yulia from Ukraine nearly 2 years ago. They have 8 biological children, and 3 of which who are adopted. The girl suffers from a rare degenerative kidney condition known as senior Loken syndrome, which requires a transplant. Though she's not vaccinated against COVID, she has had the coronavirus, so the parents believe she's protected by natural immunities. Lee Hicks said on Saturday morning, "We've been upfront the entire time we've seen at Duke that we're not comfortable with the vaccine, with the COVID-19 vaccine, so they knew all along we were not comfortable with this." It wasn't a requirement, it was a recommendation, according to the doctors, at first until the very end. So,
yeah, you know, the stupid thing about that is that, like, I remember I've looked at a couple of studies, like several studies, where they basically like they're demonstrating and showing that people like that if you get the mRNA jibby jabs, you're more likely to have an organ rejection. Like, it's actually much more dangerous for you because that's a very sensitive operation, right? You're getting a foreign object into your body, and because of how these mRNA, like, you know, jib jabs go, how they work, they attack all sorts of like organs, and like the last thing you want is to have some kind of inflammatory, like, you know, like chaos going on to a new organ because your body will reject it. The body's already like in chaos with all these things. Like, the fact that these things are happening and people just blindly follow it. It is infuriating to see doctors that literally believe like complete and total nonsense. It's so dumb. Like, it makes you mad, actually, because like you're supposed to be a doctor. How is it that you're so stupidly and horribly like misinformed about this kind of stuff? And unfortunately, like right now we're finding out about Twitter and how they're censoring harsh. Like part of the reason is because all the people who are the outspoken doctors were silenced. And so people are not getting the information. And this is all by design, of course. People are being trained to be stupid because they're not being given the proper information, and they're just being repeated like literally like a talking point nonstop, like safe and effective. And like if like sometimes I wish I could do a Vulcan mind melt. You know, I could walk up. Oh, you need to put on a mask. It's like, oh my god, I had no idea the masks are stupid. I'm like, yes, I'm gonna go Vulcan mind melt that person now. Like, it'd be so much easier. Just literally like transfer all the info I have, and everyone will be like, wow, I was an idiot. I'm like, yes, you were. Glad we could have this Vulcan mind melt moment, right? Would that not be easier?
Yep.
I feel like sometimes you try to explain to people, and they're like, they literally like their minds are like rock hard. They can't be convinced.
Oh, nothing is penetrating it. Nothing is penetrating it. Which is why they make up studies like this. So, from CTV, unvaccinated Ontarians against COVID-19 may be more at risk of traffic crashes, study finds. Individuals not vaccinated against COVID-19 may have an increased risk of being involved in a traffic crash in Ontario, a new study has found. Yep. The research was conducted at Sunnybrook Hospital and published in the American Journal of Medicine earlier this month. How did it... Okay, we know exactly how it was published in a medical journal, because medical journals will publish anything which promotes their narrative.
No, because like we've demonstrated in the past, there have been former editors of like the New England Journal of Medicine, the journal like a JAMA. What are the ones? Like JAMA is the American one. Then there's the British Medical Journal,
the New England Journal of Medicine, the British Medical Journal, and the Lancet.
The Lancet, that's right. And then people who were former editors of those like publications, we basically exposed this in the past, how they were saying that they have been completely and totally like hijacked and completely like taken over by like foreign outside forces, including the pharmaceutical companies. And they're like, we're basically beholden to whatever they tell us to do because of the funding and pressure and all that kind of stuff. And so it's like, well, good luck with that. You're basically completely and totally like at their mercy. So yeah, I'm not surprised that they were able to kind of publish this thing. Oh, I missed something. What did I miss?
Oh no, I was just laughing because Conquerworm was like, what's the definition of vax? And I'm like, changing constantly. And he's like, 1 shot, 2 shot, 3 shot, 4 shot, 5. And I'm like, red fish, blue fish.
Yeah, I like to think of like that scene from like Dark Knight. It's like where are they? It's like, what time is it? Like, what does that matter? It's like, well, if depending on the time, they may be in one place or several. It'll be like what's a vaccine? Like, well, what time is it? Like, what's that matter? It's like, well, depending on the time, will depend. Tell you what the actual definition of vaccine is. It's always changing every day. Constantly, like redefining everything. That's how they work. It's lovely. By the way, Stephen, can you do me a quick favor?
Yep.
Because I think that this is going to make a perfect cap on this segment. Is on Messenger. I sent you that video. I think I shared it with you before, and I was like, we got to do this one really quick, if you can. Is that video of that? There's a family. So just to kind of give you guys a little breakdown, there was a family in New Zealand, and again, this is all connected. Like we just talked about how a girl was unable to get a kidney transplant because she wasn't vaccinated, and then you have supposed like completely stupid studies claiming that unvaccinated are dangerous, like gonna have more accidents. But here, this was the one that absolutely blew me away this past week. There was a family, a mom and a dad, who had I think it was like a recently born child, like maybe within like 2 years old or something like that. And what happened was that the government, they basically, he needed an operation, a heart operation. And the government basically said, so needed a heart operation. The parents didn't want him to get a blood transfusion unless they knew that it was from somebody who was unvaccinated, because they knew the science. They know that a lot of they're not scanning for spike protein in blood donations, And if the child gets like a lot of blood spike protein, that can have some very, very dangerous and serious like repercussions to this child who's going to have a very, very dangerous operation. It's a fair request, right?
Mm-hmm.
But unfortunately, the government of New Zealand unilaterally decided, oh, you know what? We disagree on this, but we're bigger. We have more police with lots of guns, and we basically can hold you hostage. And they literally sent in their thugs to the like their room at the hospital, and they basically kidnapped their child until like, we'll give them back to you after we've done our thing.
Mm-hmm.
This is the most like incredibly horrible thing you can imagine. The government coming in and kidnapping your child and being like, but we're the good guys. Yeah, so the video gives you a taste of what happened in New Zealand.
Just a taste.
If you're not infuriated by this, I question your humanity.
We're not going to allow the baby to sleep or have his pre-op checks before a surgery that's scheduled and that can't be changed. Well, it can be changed.
I think, so baby needs as much rest as possible so that he can...
Excuse me, what are you doing?
Yeah. No, don't do that, boys. Hey, don't do it.
Please don't do it.
Hey.
We're talking about the surgery.
You guys are criminals. You are criminals. You are conducting a criminal act here.
So with the pre-op check, it needs to happen before the surgery.
Hey,
it won't happen tomorrow.
we've been talking to you like rational people, and now you just remove... You guys... You are criminals. You guys... Hey, guys, move out. Move out the way. You guys are acting like criminals. You are acting like criminals. All of you are criminals.
Hey guys, calm down, please.
You are criminals. You are a criminal. You are a criminal. And you are a criminal. And so are you. And so are you.
Can you guys just give them some space, please?
You are a criminal.
Okay,
You will not be part of the surgery tomorrow. We do not authorise any of that.
I just want to tell you what's happening.
No, we're not listening to what you got to say.
Why did you do that? He's going to be okay.
No, he is not
Oh,
going
he's
to be
gonna be
okay.
okay.
And we need to take him for his... Okay. We need to take him and we need to do...
You
the
are
workup.
criminals.
You will be able to see him after the surgery.
You guys are criminals. You are going to be recorded in the annals of time as criminals who come in here and take babies from their mothers. Do you understand that? Do you guys even listening to me? Do you understand that you have just kidnapped?
Yeah.
What can you do?
Nope.
What can you do? You like if that man, like that's the dad right there, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
If that dad was actually like, if there were like severe consequences, I can legitimately see a dad seeing authorities sending police to kidnap his child and force him. Like we have to remember, he knows too much, and he knows that this could potentially lead to his child dying. Like his child could die because of the actions of these people, these like incredibly like horrible, immoral people. And if that happens, they're gonna be like, "Whoops! Oh well, I guess the operation didn't happen." Yes, because you morons decided like you're going to go into this. It's like if the dad actually responds like like a lot of dads would do. If he actually goes and beats that crap out of like whatever officer it goes at him, then he's going to be portrayed as the bad guy.
Yep.
He's like, "Oh, you're here to kidnap my child and potentially kill him," and so your dad protects him like a dad should protect his children. Oh, but he's the bad guy because he hid an authority figure. Oh, the authority figure is kidnapping children. Like these people, like we're turning into a world of absolutely immoral, psychopaths. Like a police officer, you're basically told, by the way, we're going to send you into a room and you have to prevent the parents from interfering with us kidnapping their child. Oh, but don't worry, it's for their own good. We're going to protect their child by kidnapping him, forcing a medical operation on him. But we're the good guys somehow. Like, how would you feel, Stephen, if they sent like police and like, the nurses, and they're all like, I'm trying to explain to you, but really what they're doing is they're like, we're trying to tell you why we're right and why we're going to get our way, and you just need to like sit down and listen and accept what we're saying unquestionably. Like, how would you respond to something like that?
It's
like, I don't have kids, and that pisses me off.
Yeah, like if it was, it's very interesting because of course if it wasn't a cop, then like somebody's, and you just have somebody coming in, it's like, okay, well, like I'm going to take your child and I'm going to, like, this procedure is going to be done. Like I think of even like a teacher coming and trying to put your child through like hormone transitions or gender replacement stuff, then you call, like, because it's not a cop, then you have a lot more leeway. If they came into your house and tried to take your kid away from you, then you pick up a weapon and you stop them. But unfortunately, because the cops, especially like in these circumstances like this incident with the New Zealand police, the police have been given the authority to act as tyrants and as the agents of tyrants and as of the state, that all you can do is plead to their better judgment and plead to their greater morality, which unfortunately for many of these cops, they don't have it. And like Conquerworm was saying about how, like, call the cops and like say that someone is trying to kidnap and murder your child. I understand like the points of reference and why you would do that. But I also remember like talking to a cop after the incident in 2020 when the woman cop tried to tase that one kid and like cut his skates off of him. And I'm like, okay, like, how do you feel about that? Well, we really shouldn't be discussing the actions of other police officers. I'm like, well,
that's a cop out. That's a cop out.
I'm like, you can understand that this is a cop out. I'm like, can you at least admit that it was inaccurate, like it was inappropriate, and that you guys are trained to do better? Well, sir, we're not really supposed to discuss the actions of other cops. It is a group mentality that even if you report other police officers for the criminal actions which they are partaking in, that nothing will be done because it's, well, we have to protect other cops first, instead of, okay, this cop is doing something bad, and even though they are a fellow officer of the law, my priority is not to them. My loyalty is to the law and justice and to the people to whom which I serve. But that's not the way that modern policing is done. And that's one of the biggest downfalls of modern policing.
We've created a society right now where all of the most important sources of authority and like in things that we need are basically top down authoritarian totalitarian basically structures. In healthcare, you don't get to decide what the rules are. Someone on top of you decided, and everyone has to fall in line or else you're fired. And then BC just, like, I think that they already passed it. Like, I'm not sure if, but I've heard about Bill C-36, I think it was called. Basically, in a nutshell, no one is allowed, no doctor, no nurse, no healthcare practitioner is allowed to question the supreme and wonderful knowledge of the health authorities. We are basically they're basically gods. They cannot be questioned. And like a lot of people have pointed out, that opens the door for forced vaccination of every care practitioner. Like, get vaccinated or you're basically canned and fired and all that kind of stuff. It's incredible. And the problem that with all this entire system, from the hospital I went to that, the whole thing in New Zealand, the problem with this is that we are seeing the ingredients for what will eventually be a society-wide totalitarian dystopian nightmare state. Because you see how it works in the microcosm is the hospital. The hospital basically like has a system in place where everyone in that hospital has no choice. You put on the mask or you're out. And guess what? You expand that to society at large. You do the thing that we want you to do or you're out. Like it's horrifying. And the fact that every single person, every single patient going into that hospital has to play along with this insanely stupid game, nobody realizing that they've been lied to. Every single person in that hospital, including I think the people who are enforcing these laws, everyone has been lied to, and nobody realizes that they've been had. And it's unfortunate, but this is the world we're heading into. And unfortunately, the people who are being empowered to enforce these laws have basically been like they've literally had an ice cream scoop taken to their brain, and they've taken out the brains and be like, do what you're told, don't think, and you don't have to think about it. They're basically no different. These cops in this New Zealand story, they are no different than an attack dog. You know, like police have attack dogs. What do attack dogs do? It's like they're held back in a leash. They let them go. The attack dog just blindly lunges forward and attacks whoever's moving. That's basically about the level of thinking these people are required to do. Yeah. And unfortunately, so many of these cops, not only have they put their brains at the door, but they've also completely and totally sold their soul. They've just stopped caring. And when you have a cop that stops caring, I'm sorry, you are no longer fit to do your job. Yep. I hate to say it. I'm like, how can we respect you if you're going to act like this? You have no morality and no, you can't even defend what you're doing. So it's sad. That's the state of this world. It's basically I'm surrounded by a-holes.
All right. But now we do need to move on because we are running a little bit late on time.
Yeah, it's very ranty.
Very ranty, very ranty. But now we have to move on to the news that you may have missed, to talk about the news that you may have missed. So, from the BBC, Oregon governor commutes all 17 of state's death sentences.
Oh, that's going to turn out well.
Yep. So with less than a month left in office, she said she was using her executive power because she believed capital punishment was wrong. Oregon is one of 27 states that still allows the death penalty, but it has not executed a prisoner since 1997. Republicans in the western U.S. state condemned Ms. Brown's order. It will take effect on Wednesday. In a statement, she said she was not acting because these prisoners had been rehabilitated, but because the death penalty is immoral. It's an irreversible
immoral
punishment that does not allow for correction, is wasteful of taxpayer dollars, and does not make communities safer, and cannot be and never has been administered fairly and equitably. She has used her clemency powers more than any other previous Oregon governor, and according to her office, she is the 7th United States governor in the past 50 years to commute all death sentences in a state. So, and of course, Oregon State Senate Leader Tim Knopp assailed her policy on Tuesday. Did the people of Oregon vote to end the death penalty? I don't recall that happening. Now, like, I remember a long time ago, in 2020, it was probably September, when we were first kind of starting out this show, and I was still doing the show with Tate. And the final segment of every show that we would do would be the weekly disagreement. And the first weekly disagreement was about the death penalty. And I actually did change his mind, because he's like, yeah, I guess like if the person's really, really horrific, then I could argue in favor of a very like swift end by like firing squad. And I'm like, yeah, I don't like lethal injection because it fails too much. Same with electrocution, because the suffering and pain that causes is akin to torture if it fails. But those that are truly horrific, those that have killed several people, those that have raped and assaulted and murdered children, these people should not be paid for and sponsored by the state for the rest of their lives. they have committed such atrocious acts that they are beyond rehabilitation. Like, there are some people that when they face the death penalty, like, oh, what was that guy's name? There was a Netflix special about him.
Jeffrey Dahmer.
Like, Dahmer, when facing the death penalty, did actually see it as it was a come to Jesus moment. And like, those listening to him after his come to Jesus moment is like, whoa, like, you were actually a very different person.
He was a very horrible human being. Yeah.
He was a very horrible human being, but like, the way that he spoke and the way that he talked was vastly different. And part of that was that when he received his death sentence, his attitude changed because it caused him to refocus his life into, well, I'm not going to be in prison for the rest of my life. I can't just act however I want. I have to face the reality of death. And because death is coming soon, I have to realize what's coming after death.
I want to make sure you don't get caught. Did you actually watch the series?
No, I did not.
Okay, so just a little correction. So John Wayne Gacy, who was executed around that time, he actually got the death penalty. But one of the things that happened with Dahmer is that he actually was in a state that didn't actually have the death penalty. So he was actually not going to get the death penalty.
Oh, no, he was killed. Right. He was killed.
He was killed. He knew that there was a good chance that somebody was going to kill him in the prison because people knew what he did. And people, like they did not. Yeah, he knew that he probably was not going to last long. But not because of the death penalty, but because of like people in the prison. Yeah. So, all right, next story. From the post-millennial gun control advocates pressured CDC to remove statistics on defensive gun use. What? Wait, hold on. So, like, people are pressuring major, like, organizations to completely and totally mess with the stats in order to deceive people. Where have we seen this before? By the way, Twitter, in case anyone was wondering. That 2.5 million number needs to be killed, buried, dug up, killed again, and buried again, wrote Mark Bryant, executive director of Gun Violence Archive. Why would he want to do that? Because that's an inconvenient statistic that doesn't help their cause, which these people are, ends justifies the means. All right, so the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention were reportedly pressured by gun control advocates during a private meeting into removing statistics related to defensive gun uses, according to a series of emails published by The Reload. The CDC Commission studies found that instances of defensive gun use occurred between 60,000 and 2.5 million times per year every year. The higher figure is specifically coming from a study by Professor Emeritus at Florida State University's College of Criminology and Criminal Justice, Gary Kleck. That $2.5 million number needs to be killed, buried, dug up, killed again, buried again. It is highly misleading. No, it's not. It's just very inconvenient for you. It is used out of context. No, it's not. Again, they just don't like it. And I honestly believe it has zero value. Yeah, because again, it hurts your cause, even as an outlier point in honest DGU discussions. And while that very small study by Gary Kleck has been debunked repeatedly by everyone from all sides of these issues, I highly doubt that. These people are psychopathic and pathological liars. It still remains canon by gun rights folks and are supporting politicians, and is used as a blunt instrument against gun safety regulations every time there's a state of federal level hearing. Put simply, in the time that study has been published as a CDC study, gun violence prevention policy has ground to a halt, in no small part because of the misinformation that small study provided. Again, here's a tip. If the person arguing for censorship or for completely censorship of important information is saying that, that thing's been debunked and nobody believes that, but they want to censor it, as in just hide it from the public, that person is lying. I can almost guarantee that every single time somebody's saying we need to completely hide this and ban it and censor it, that person is completely lying to you. The same thing happened with the transgender book Irreversible Damage. When they don't want to argue against the points, they make ridiculous claims like, oh, all those points are debunked and everything's false and they're just lying. But our solution is just ban it. These people are absolute nut jobs. This is how they work. They don't want to have an argument. They want to remove inconvenient information. Again, this happened in Canada again with the numbers from COVID and all the inconvenient numbers. They just hit them. So yeah, this is happening still. All right, take it away, Steve.
All right. So from Daily Mail, Strep A crisis hits the United States. At least 2 children have died from bacterial infection, and 5 states say they're seeing up to 4 times more cases than usual after a deadly outbreak in the United Kingdom. Children's hospitals in 5 states, they're seeing a surge in admissions. America is now seeing a surge in infections after uptick in Europe and the UK. Strep A infections are surging after lockdowns harmed children's immunity. Has your child come down with a particularly bad bug? Email, yada yada. So, we knew this was coming. We knew there would be a wave of infectious diseases after children and adults have been isolated from the world for a very, very long time. It was totally predictable by anyone who had any basic understanding. It's like, well, but then you're saying that the lockdowns worked. No, we're saying that if people are isolated and kept away from the world, they have no chance to build up immunity to basic things. That's what we're arguing here.
We were arguing this before, like when
it's very interesting because if you actually look at 5-10 years ago, you would get almost every health professional. It's like, yeah, like have your kids go outside, like have them play in the dirt, have them be around other kids with like slightly infectious diseases. It's not going to really hurt them because it'll build up their immunity for the potential of something much more severe. You cannot find anything related to that, not unless you go down like 10 pages. Because every single thing that you're finding nowadays is all, well, no, we cannot expose people to that. They have to say that we must not make children sick. Isolating them is the best thing. And nobody could have seen this rash of communicable respiratory viruses when children came out of isolation. It's like, no, anyone who was paying attention knew this was going to come.
Yeah. Well, because it hits you like from two sides, right? Like on the one hand, the lockdowns, like so many people knew that lockdowns are going to lead to massive explosions of or massive drops in immunity because people are super isolated, especially children. Immunity goes down, and all the actions of staying inside, not getting vitamin D, not getting exercise, eating poorly, stress, all of these things that go along with lockdowns are all things that kill your immunity. And then on top of that, you have all of those children and all those people who basically took the vaccine. And one of the things that unfortunately the vaccine does is it actually reduces your immunity. This is one thing I remember, like going through so many different interviews with major doctors going through this, and they're like, the jib jab is messing with immunity. People are like getting all sorts of new infections that they wouldn't have had before. Cancers are exploding. It's the perfect storm. And by the way, I remember seeing Fauci. They were on a lot of Crowder. Fauci was on there, and they're like, "Well, what do you think about all these things?" Like, well, that just means we have to go back to masks and maybe back to staying back at home, and maybe we need to go get the vaccine again. All the things that have all helped to lead to this crisis, they're just more of the same.
Yep,
it's tragic.
All right, let's move on to the next one.
Moving on. Okay, so this is an interesting story from Summit News. Washington Post corrects op-ed conflating lack of black Argentinian footballers with history of black erasure. So author falsely claims that a third of the country used to be black. Yeah, it was a pretty embarrassing moment for the Washington Post. So the Washington Post has been forced to issue a correction to an op-ed that asked, why doesn't Argentina have more black players in the World Cup lineup? after Argentinian people pointed out that the country is overwhelmingly white and not obsessed with virtual signaling about race. This is absolutely right. America is obsessed with this, but in other parts of the world they don't give a crap. The piece claimed that it is a myth that Argentina is a white nation, with the author Erica Denise Richard. Oh, she sounds like a single white cat lady.
Check out my article.
Yeah, an associate professor at University of Texas at El Paso, suggesting her rantings uncover a history of black race. So this is what happens. These elite white liberals in America, they get away with this crap in America, but they don't have to do any research. They just throw this out there and be like, aha, I'm brilliant. But then people point them out. Okay, so in the piece, she argues that in the 18th century, a third of Argentina's population was black, and that since then, there's been an agenda to whiten the country. They believe that to join the ranks of Germany, France, and England, and Argentina had to displace its black population, both physically and culturally. She also points to a census figures from 2010, claiming they proved that roughly 1% of Argentina's population of 146 million is black. After people pointed out that it's not true, the Washington Post issued a correction that the actual number was far less than 1%. So here's one of the tweets. The Washington Post opinion piece complaining that there are no black players on Argentina's team has been corrected after the fact to note that far less than 1% of the Argentine population is black. This piece is full of inconsistencies, misrepresentations. It's evident that the person who wrote it has no knowledge of Argentine culture and never lived in Argentina. Holy crap, is this ever true? These people they have no shame. So they go on like this. Here's my favorite one from White Knight, December 12th. So fewer than 150,000 in a country of 46 million. And that's including women and all men who are not between the ages of about 18 and 35, which is the approximate age window for players of this caliber. So basically, this country has so ridiculously few black people that to have a black person in this population would be like a humongous,
it'd be exceptionally rare
over representation. Again, people have also pointed out that the team of Senegal, which is from Africa, is entirely black. Nobody complains about that. And the team of Morocco from North Africa, again, not dark black, but they're basically African American, African colored people. No white people on there. This is how stupid these people are. And I'm so glad that they got busted with this thing, because it's very seldom that they do. So great embarrassment for the Washington Post. I'm so glad that you got busted.
Yep. All right. 14-year-old boy killed as Moroccan fans riots in France after World Cup loss.
Yeah.
Moroccan soccer fans rioted across France yesterday, Wednesday night, as their team lost to France 2-0 in the World Cup. A 14-year-old boy was killed in Montpellier when fans attacked a car with a French flag and the driver accelerated in panic to escape the mob. So, yeah, I can't show the video.
No, you can't. It's a very, very violent. But just a little quick note on this. The riot didn't just happen when Morocco lost to France. I remember watching somebody's doing a long video on this. They were happening after every Moroccan, even when Morocco won against Spain, when they won against Portugal, when they won even before that. After every game, they were having riots all over France, which should tell you that this is not just them angry that their team lost. This was happening all over the place during the game. So there's a culture clash in France right now, because France is it's like America. They have completely open borders, and people are coming in like never before. And there's a massive culture clash between the local French, the native French people, and all of these African and Middle Eastern kind of groups that are basically they hate each other. And a lot of these immigrants are causing massive problems. 70% of all the crimes committed in I think it was Paris or maybe in all of France are by migrants, which should tell you some of the problems there. So the World Cup is exposing some of the massive culture wars that are coming in France.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy. Okay, next video. This is again from Summit News. Video: Democratic representative says term pedophile is discriminatory. It is alleging that a person is criminal somehow and engaged in criminal acts merely because of their gender identity, their sexual orientation. Stephen, can you play the video of this lunatic advocating for, like, you know, having sex with
this
children?
Allegation of groomer and pedophile. It is alleging that a person is criminal somehow and engaged in criminal acts merely because of their identity, their sexual orientation, their gender identity. So this is clearly prohibited under Twitter's content, yet you found hundreds of these posts on the platform. Your team filed complaints about these posts, correct?
Yes.
And how often did Twitter act to take down these posts, which violated its own content policy?
Very rarely.
So from our calculation, it looks like about 99% of your complaints, they basically acted on one or two of the 100+ complaints you filed. Instead of taking them down, Twitter elevated them, allowing them to reach an approximate 72 million users. This is not just about what happens online. What happens online translates into real harms in people's lives. Ms. Popcock?
I mean, that's probably enough there.
Oh yeah, that's enough.
Let me translate really quick what's going on here. What happening is this is if you're not aware, this is how these Marxists, because they're not the left, they're Marxists. Okay, let's just put it all out there. They're all operating from Marxist strategies, Marxist worldview, everything like that. The way that they operate is this: you're not allowed to criticize or to make any complaint against the one, like this one group, which is the LGBT community. Okay, which means the way that they penalize you for criticizing is that any criticism of any kind against anybody in this sacred group is violence. In other words, it's inciting violence and you're leading to violence. Imagine going to somebody who is littering all over your yard, okay? They just keep throwing your garbage all over your yard. And you complain, you're like, you're inciting violence against my people. Like I don't know, let's say that person's African American and Steven goes out to the yard and he's like, this person keeps throwing like garbage and like, you know, like their animals poop all over your yard. And you say like, hey, can you please stop doing that? You're inciting violence against us. Like that is how this works. But this woman is basically saying, you cannot even use the word groomer or pedophile on Twitter because it's inciting violence and it's causing harm to a community, when in reality it's a legitimate criticism, because there are freaking people in all over America who are child predators.
Yep.
One of the big ones. Did you hear about that guy today, Eli? The guy that they talked about on Louder Crowder and that Twitter exposed. It's like
Yoel Roth. The guy who suggested that it's totally no big deal for teachers to have sex with their students.
He's advocating for pedophilia. This guy should be literally like dragged out in the street and beaten with sticks. Right? That's the appropriate response to that kind of like person. Anybody who says, by the way, we should all accept that it's so totally great and beautiful for an adult to have sexual relations with a child or with a teenager.
Yep.
That is horrible behavior. That's what this woman's trying to defend.
Yep.
And the problem is they're everywhere. That is the real issue.
Yeah. Well, they're everywhere, and then of course, like the right, like there are morally depraved people that do identify as conservative. But typically, when they're found out, they're called out, they're exposed, and they are abandoned by the conservatives, the Republicans, those on the right. Those on the left that adopt this ideology and this mentality, they, yes, as Veldrain says, the left calls them maps. I call them should die in prison. I'm with you there. I'm with you there. Should die in prison.
Yep.
They should be. Well, like typically, from what I've heard from people that have gone to prison, is that those who harm
Rape
kids
or harm children. Yeah.
they are target numero uno in prison. And I have no problem with that. Like, guards step back. It's like, all right, go for it. I don't care. Like, these people are so heinous and so evil that what they're doing, even the depraved and those who are facing criminal justice in our nations see them as the worst of the worst. And unfortunately, the conservatives and even those in prison see them as the worst of the worst. But the Democratic Party, and especially Joe Biden, he nominates these people and he brings them to the White House. So Drag Queen Story Hour performers to attend White House ceremony. This was, of course, before the ceremony. So when President Joe Biden signs the Respect for Marriage Act this week, he'll be flanked by Vice President Kamala Harris, First Lady Joe Biden, and gay Drag Queen Story Hour performer Marty Cummings, according to an invite posted by Cummings. I don't even know what voice to use for this.
By the way, did you do the? Is this like it's a trap segment?
Oh yeah, I didn't do the intro. Apologies.
Yeah, maybe you should do it now.
Yes. Late, better late than never. I'm like, oops, I forgot the intro to this segment.
Whoops.
My bad. I just got so into it. I'm like, ah!
Did you turn the music off at least?
Yes. Sometimes when I get into monologue mode, I'm just like, let's go!
Sly Dog, you got me monologuing.
I'm always saying that. It's gonna... All right.
That's a good one.
So, I'm going to
Steven is the king of monologues.
To be a non-binary drag artist invited to the White House is something I never imagined would happen. Cummings wrote on Monday in a social media post, along with a photo of an invitation from Biden. The bill signing ceremony is scheduled to take place on Tuesday, and it did. But the people that he invited, the drag queens invited to the White House for marriage equality bill signing, tweeted, "The kids are out to sing and suck D," while another performed for children in a church, which we showed on we showcased on the show a couple months ago.
Yep.
So among the attendees were controversial New York City-based drag performers Marty Cummings and Britta Filter. Cummings' words have attracted controversy in the past, as they once said the kids are out to sing and suck D on Twitter. In August, students complained they felt pressure to dance along with Britta Filter's performance at the exclusive Grace Church High School in Manhattan.
Yeah, we watched that.
Yeah, we did. It was really, really horrifying.
It was really horrifying, yeah.
So, this is, of course, and I believe this is Britta Filter on the right. Yeah. And this is Marty Cummings performs Baby Shark for toddlers. Ugh.
These are people who in recent time, in like the far past, they would have probably been sent to like an asylum. Because when you want to dress, like, remember, you're a man, a fully grown man who wants to dress up like a woman. I remember watching this entire interview with Ali Beth Stuckey, interviewed someone who had resources like crazy. And she reckoned, this lady was exposing that there is a severely problematic problem in the transgender community, particularly around men. So remember, they're not all the same. The men in the transgender community, that one of the big issues is autogynephilia. It's a mental disorder where you are sexually attracted by like seeing yourself as a woman. A lot of men struggles with this, but this has been shoved into the transgender hat. She also talked about how there are a ton of advocates for maps all over the country. And would you believe me, Stephen, if I told you that the majority of the people who are advocating for the acceptance and decriminalization of pedophilia, that most of these people are either in the gay community or are in the transgender community? Would you believe that at all?
Of course.
Would any of you believe that? because believe it or not, that is the gigantic elephant in the room for the, and this has been true since the 60s with the LGBT, like the like two segments, the gay community, transgender community. They have a massive hidden problem of pedophilia. And this was present before the whole push for gay acceptance started in the 90s. This was already present in before. They made a decision, an active decision, that we're not going to be able to gain acceptance socially unless we basically separate ourselves from the pedophilia side, the pederasty side of this community. And so they basically quietly tried to distance themselves from it, but it's now coming back in massive force. And so, like, when people say these people are groomers and these people are like pedophiles, obviously not every single person, clearly, not every single person in any of these communities is that. But they have a gigantic problem with this issue. Because even some of the biggest, the big heroes that everyone holds up as like, these are the heroes of our movement. Harvey Milk.
Yep.
Harvey Milk was known to have several like sexual relationships with underage boys. And nobody cared. It's no problem. Hey, he's having sex with underage children. No problem. Well, we somehow freak out when we hear about a teacher having sex with an underage child, or like a 23-year-old having sex with like a 16-year-old girlfriend, something like that. That's unthinkable. But Harvey Milk having sex with like children who are an entire decade like younger than him, no problem. He's totally off the hook. Like, this is a real problem, and it has to be addressed. Like, seriously.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right.
Well, and like it shows, like Veldrin was saying, of course, that Canada is annoyingly progressive, and this is quite progressive for the United States, but Canada's even further.
Oh,
like we showcased 2 weeks ago, Justin Trudeau was the first world leader to appear on a drag queen show. Like, our prime minister is he sees himself as the king of the virtue signaling establishment leaders.
He's a narcissistic psychopath.
Oh, he is. Yeah, there's no question that he is a narcissistic sociopath and psychopath.
Yeah.
And Canada is way further. Like, in Canada, they're trying to push forth bills. They're waiting on approval from the Senate, which is basically a rubber stamp, that would, even talking about this, even condemning behavior like these drag queens, like these pedophiles have promoted, would be seen as hate speech, and our content would not be removed by YouTube, would not be removed by Twitch, would not be removed by Facebook. It would be removed by the Canadian government. And that's one of the scariest things. And I stated that we live in Alberta, and right now the only hope I see from Alberta is like, we should.
Like our premier seems to be doing
our premier is doing a gosh darn good job.
It's probably the closest I've ever seen to like the DeSantis kind of like wannabe. Not to his level. He's a whole other, he's a beast.
He's a beast.
But
Danielle Smith is, as far as the Canadian premiers go, she is 2 heads above all of them.
Oh yeah. So, but let's bring so
let's bring it back.
Canada's a giant joke, but let's talk about why is this a trap? Okay. So this is a trap because of the context. Okay. So the context of this entire thing is the White House was celebrating the passing of the Respect for Marriage Act, right? Okay. What was the Respect for Marriage Act? Now, I think like a week ago, I did a segment. Basically, I basically compared the Respect for Marriage. I'm not sure if it was last week or 2 weeks ago, but Respect for Marriage Act, I compared it to the Runaway Slave Law, okay, or Runaway Slave Act, which basically forced people against their will to basically enforce the law of the people that they opposed, right? What I like to think of this is the Runaway Christian Act. It's basically what it is. Because what it does is it empowers the really extreme, radical, lunatic activists that are all in for absolutely annihilating anybody who is Christian. They hate Christians. Like let's put it. By the way, our prime minister also hates Christians. If he ever says otherwise, he's lying through his crooked teeth. But the law is designed to it's basically saying it's open season on Christians because it's meant to be like a hunting license. Every Christian in the private sector is now fair game. They can sue them into oblivion. They can annihilate them. They are completely and totally fair game, and their goal is to shut every single Christian or conservative or traditionalist up. That is the goal. And that is what this law is doing. And the fact that the White House and Joe Biden, who is the biggest sellout in American history, this guy, when FOMA was passed, like DOMA, Defense of Marriage Act, when that was passed, he talked about how great it was and how we should all support it. And now he's signing the opposite. And he's like, oh, it's so great and awesome. The reason this is a trap is because while they make these big talking points about, oh, this is going to help protect like the gay community and the transgender community from this horrible discrimination, in reality what it is it's designed to destroy any opposition to their ultimate goal, which is to basically create a society where nobody is allowed at any point in any way to say that, like, being gay or being transgender or any of the things that they advocate for are wrong. That's what they're doing. It's a trap. It's a Trojan horse. It's wrapped in this nice outer layer of like, oh, compassion and inclusion, which is what they always do. But inside, it's literally designed to destroy America. And that's what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And so people who don't see, thankfully, a lot of conservatives, they see right through it. For a lot of people who are in the middle, they don't see it.
No,
it is obvious. They want to destroy. Like I've heard it years ago. Like Dr. Michael Brown, who's a great advocate from the Christian side, he basically put it perfectly. He said what the gay community wants, and this has always been their goal, and that he quoted many people who said the same thing. What the gay community wants is they want to put Christians in the closet.
Mm-hmm.
And this law is designed to do that.
Yep, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
There was an article that I was actually hearing about. I didn't read it, but it was basically saying, in order to show the love of God, Christians should just acquiesce to their entire agenda. And that's how we show our love, is by doing everything that they want and letting our children watch the drag queen shows and go to the parades and be involved with all of this, because that's showing the love of God. It's like, no, it's not. That's not showing the love of God at all. It's like, we must be honest first and foremost. It's like, yeah, you can be honest in a loving way. You don't have to be explicitly rude about it. But the first agenda, instead of catering to feelings, is telling the truth and protecting the innocent. And in this case, there are people that must be protected from the evil they wish to perpetuate, especially upon our children. But unfortunately, the evil that the lefties want to perpetuate is not only in the matter of the LGBTQ, but it is also continuing to play out in the race issues.
All right, so we're doing the douche of the week?
We are doing the douche of the week, and I hope that I queued this up properly. So
we'll see.
I'm going to try.
Oh, looking good
so far. I did queue it up properly. So it's just, I have to like plan ahead by like 3 steps, but I can do it.
Well done.
I know. Look at me.
Slow clap.
Slow clap. Behold my amazingness. So, all right. From NBC News, hotel employees, comedian Mark Curry accused of racial profiling are suspended until further notice. Hotel officials say they deeply regret the incident and will revisit training with their staff.
Oh yeah, re-education training.
Mm-hmm. So two hotel employees,
we swear,
accused by comedian Mark Curry of racial profiling have been suspended pending further investigation, a hotel spokesperson said Tuesday. Both employees in a 26-minute video shared by Curry on his Instagram account were suspended, said a spokesperson for the Mining Exchange in Colorado Springs, a franchise of the Wyndham Hotel and Resorts. Curry, who starred in ABC's Hangin' with Mr. Cooper from 92 to 97, said he was drinking coffee in the lobby Friday when an employee asked him whether he was a guest. He also informed him the lobby is private. Curry said, according to the video he shared with his 223,000 Instagram followers. Curry accused the employee of asking him the question because he is black. If you're black and you're in Colorado Springs, you can't be in the lobby, he said. Wow, that's crazy. The employee denied the allegation, saying in the video that his question had nothing to do with race. NBC News does not know what happened before Curry started recording. But just watch this video. Curry thinks that I'm a victim of racial profiling, but really this hotel staff is exceptionally patient with this jackass.
Mm-hmm.
So let's just watch.
All right, so the problem is I'm in a hotel lobby and this man wants to see, I don't know what's
if you're a guest.
Huh?
I'm just asking if you're a guest.
And I'm asking, are you a guest?
I just said no, I'm an employee.
Well, let me see some ID. You got your backup. How you doing, backup? Does he speak? Hello, backup. John, you've been here for 15 minutes.
No, sir, I've not been here.
Okay, well, we're gonna put you, all right. People, he's asking me for I can't be in the hotel lobby. This hotel lobby, you cannot be in this hotel lobby if you're black and you're in Colorado Springs. So if you're black and you're in Colorado Springs, you can't be in the lobby. Wow.
Oh
this
my
is
God.
crazy, isn't it? So check it out. Oh yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Look, they got a black man in Colorado Springs, so they send this dude. Look. Yeah. Oh yeah. The one he talks now. He talks. Yeah. Yeah. So a black man can't be. Yeah. I'm trying to pull a race car, boy. So we got an Uncle Tom calling me, say I'm doing the race car, but he
wow.
This is what it's all about, people. He called me the race car.
He is doing the race car.
Yeah.
No, sir. I've asked you very politely.
What'd you ask me, sir? I can't hear.
Are you a guest of the hotel?
I can't hear you. Say it again.
You heard me.
I couldn't hear you. My hard of hearing.
You can tell he's not being genuine.
And then, brother,
Are we on TikTok or Facebook? Which one is it?
he a brother. Look, he a brother, but he ain't with the right man. Saying I'm pulling a race car. Look at the way this look. He need a race car.
What a dick.
Yep. Completely. And he's actually being like very like so incredibly like the fact that he called him an Uncle Tom, like if he wanted to pretend like he had the high ground, the moral high ground at any point, he lost it when he called him an Uncle Tom. Like that moral high ground gone. You can't even pretend you have that moral high ground because like calling someone an Uncle Tom is such an incredibly unacceptable insult. It's like calling a black person like a traitor to their race or something like that, or a cracker or something like that. It's so crazy how black people are so willing to use that term. That to me was like, I'm like, oh, okay, you stall.
Yep.
You can't even pretend anymore. Buddy.
It's actually fairly interesting because Veldrain says that he actually works for a hotel, and if someone sits in the lobby for an extended period of time, he'll go up and ask them if they're a guest. It's a common policy.
Yes, it is.
It's like even in that video, like later on, Matt Walsh is like, I've been asked if I'm a guest several times because when you sit in the lobby, when you sit in a location which is private property,
it is,
then they have a right to ask you if you have a legitimate reason or a right to be there.
You know why that is, Stephen?
Do I know why that?
Why
because people will exploit it.
Because people walk in all the time to hotels and they just literally lounge in the lounge.
Yep.
The policy is designed to help the hotel to prevent people from literally just walking in anytime. Like it's like, I remember I used to go into what do you call it, Starbucks in Vancouver when I was going to school there. Like they would actually come to me and ask me like, sir, have you bought anything? Because they have limited seating. And when you're going there, you're going to be sitting there for hours. You're basically monopolizing a table for a long time. They're going to ask you like, hey, sir, have you bought anything? Are you a customer and all that? And I wasn't offended by that. I'm like, oh, I'm like, oh, you're right. I haven't bought anything. I'm going to go right up and order something. I actually was okay with that policy because I get it. They're not a public library. They're a business. They're there to and if you're using a table, that means that people don't have a place to sit down. Then you're basically affecting paying customers. I'm like, yeah, I get it. I'm gonna go up and buy something. I'll buy a drink. I'll buy something every 2 hours. I'll buy something new or something like that because that's fair. This is a great example of the sheer entitlement that people like, particularly this guy's a celebrity, right? Mark Curry.
He's an old comedian from the 90s.
Oh, okay. So he's like a has-been basically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So he's not even a current. He's not like Dave Chappelle or somebody current. He's just like he's an older comedian. But did you hear the condescending tone that he had?
Oh, so condescending.
Oh, so brutal, right? I remember. Okay, so I remember this. A couple years ago, we had a big dialogue between somebody at the core, like our young adults community at our church, decided that there was a lot of people who were having a back and forth about CRT. Okay, critical race theory. Is it right? Is it wrong? Is it Christian? Is it not Christian? So this guy decided to basically host an actual open, respectful dialogue between both sides of the issue. Okay, these are Christians on all sides. Some of them were very supportive of CRT and Black Lives Matter. Some of them were not, and so everyone showed up. And so this one girl, who's like very black, she had an entire. She shared a story, and she said that so she worked at this company, and I think like what happened is like somehow some other girl got a promotion when she didn't get the promotion. And she said that at the time she was absolutely convinced. She was convinced beyond any shadow of a doubt that it was all because of her race. Oh, I'm not promoted because I'm black. I got passed over because I'm black. And she was so convinced of this. So I think later on, she actually finally had a sit-down conversation with the person who was in charge, and they talked about it, and she actually found out that like, actually she made a lot of insanely good points, and I actually ended up agreeing with her, like, yeah, this person definitely deserved this promotion, and a lot of these were things I didn't know about.
Mm-hmm.
I that she had like crazy amounts of prior training that made her
assumed that it was entirely race-based.
She thought it was race-based, and she was like, when you walk around and you believe that every slight that you receive is all because of race, then you see it everywhere. Like Michelle Obama had that. Remember?
Oh, the ice cream story. Oh my gosh,
cream story. God,
so stupid.
So stupid. Yeah, so basically Michelle Obama, somebody cut in front of him, I think it was. Well, right? Like somebody cut them off, like cut in line.
Well, she claimed that, and then it was like, okay, but you're the first lady, so you would clearly have like Secret Service agents. So cutting in front of you would be nearly impossible.
Yeah, so the story
seemed
story
at all.
Yeah.
But even still, she's like, somebody cutting in front of me. Like they didn't even see me. They didn't even acknowledge a black person because the nation is white supremacist.
Oh my gosh, the blackness. Yeah, the dark soul. Oh God. Like it was so brutal. So that good on that kid in that hotel for like, I mean, you can tell he's like a little bit like hesitant to speak, but he totally called it. Like you're using the race card, bro. Like you're using the race card, thinking that like you're feigning outrage, right? Now, did you talk about the actual like fallout of what happened?
No, I did not talk about the fallout. I know that like a lot of celebrities came to his aid. Well, like in the first story, it did address that the 2 employees that confronted this douche were both suspended indefinitely without pay.
Mm-hmm.
So they were essentially fired
for doing hotel policy.
Yeah, for doing hotel policy, and even in the face of really, really rude and entitled and annoying behavior, they still acted in almost every circumstance in that video entirely professionally.
Yeah. And you could tell that guy with the glasses, he was getting peeved.
He was getting peeved.
Yeah, he was. And I understand why.
Every time I try and ask you if you're a guest, you turn into a race baiting question.
Oh yeah.
And it's like, I've been here. Like the guy had probably been there for 15 minutes asking him the same question. He's like, a black man can't be in the lobby. It's like,
he didn't ask that.
Answer the bloody question. Like, if I was that guy, be like, a black man can be in a lobby. Sir, if you fail to produce evidence that you are a guest, like, I don't know. Veldrain, of course, you can inform us.
Yeah.
But after a certain point in time, you have to be able to say, sir, if you don't leave within a certain time frame, we are going to call the police.
Yes.
Because this is trespassing and you have been asked to leave if you cannot prove that you are a valued guest.
Yeah. At a certain point, when someone's being belligerent, you have to basically follow through. Be like, well, I've given you all the warnings. I've talked to you. I'm going to follow through. Unfortunately, like this guy, like the employee was basically given no recourse. Unfortunately, this happens all the time.
Oh, it happens
in the U.S.
so often, and it's so unfortunate.
My favorite example is those 2 black students in I think it was Arizona State.
Oh,
where they walked up to that.
They walked up to that one guy and said, "This is a black space," and he's like, "What?
Black space?" And he's like, "Well, I don't know. Like, actually, it wasn't a black space. It was a multicultural space."
Veldrain says the time limit for most hotels is 20 minutes. So, thank you. Good to know.
Yeah, but I think the fair thing is that guy probably so the employee, he didn't just kind of walk by and be like, "Oh," run over and like, "Are you a guest here?" He probably noticed that there was somebody sitting there. He was probably there for
he had probably been there for quite some time.
Yeah, I'm guessing that doesn't become a thing.
Yeah,
I remember.
I've been asked if I was a guest before, and I wasn't a guest, but I was there on behalf of someone who was This was at our friend Anna's wedding, and my wife was there helping Anna and others getting their hair done in the hotel room. And so I was waiting because they were supposed to send something down to me so that we could help set up for the ceremony. So no, I'm technically not a guest, but I'm waiting on a guest and they're just bringing something down from their room. I'm sorry for kind of taking up space here, but hopefully we'll be gone as soon as possible. And they were totally understanding about that.
Yeah.
I wasn't just trying to take up space and solicit and loiter around the area.
How dare they ask you though, Stephen?
I know.
Seriously, they are
Look
super
at me,
prejudiced.
super white guy.
Oh gosh. Clearly. This is the problem too, is that when people what's his name, Tim Curry?
Mark Curry.
When people like Mark Curry do this, they cheapen actual prejudice. Because when you basically cry wolf all the time, it basically becomes meaningless. This is what it does. It's like you cry racism all the time. It becomes a stupid, useless word. It means nothing.
Yeah.
Everything's racism. That means nothing's racism. It's the same complaint I have about rape. It's like, oh my God, I had sex with a guy last week, and I don't know if I really wanted.
I don't know if I
think
can't
was
guarantee
raped.
that I absolutely consented the entire time. So it was rape.
Yeah.
Like
There was
it got
actually a
to
story
the
like
point. It got to the point that some guys in colleges and universities in the States would actively film prior, like not during, but prior to any sexual encounter, and they would say, "Yep, like, are you consenting to this act? Are you intoxicated?" Like, just to cover their butts.
Yep.
Because, and unfortunately, it's a very common tactic to be like, "Oh well, like I didn't consent to it, so it's over." Like there was a student, and it went through this whole process. It was like, yeah, like she was coming onto him, like they had sex, and then afterwards she said it was rape, and then the cops like said that he was innocent, but because she said that she was raped, he was suspended and basically had a black mark on his academic record. And he's like, I can't apply to any other schools because all they see is that I was accused of rape even though I was acquitted.
Yep.
So like these things are going to ruin lives. And in Mark Curry's case, it's entirely an attention grabbing incident because at this point he's a wannabe comedian because he's washed up and a has-been. And that's
totally
why Mark Curry is the douche of the week this week. All right. That's where we're going to end today's show. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. If you're involved in the chat, such as, of course, Conquer Worm and Chelsea and Veldrain. Veldrain is a new viewer, and we've thoroughly enjoyed your commentary and interactions. And we hope that you check out the rest of our content and contact us in other ways. You've been a very engaging viewer, and we really, really appreciate you. So,
namaste.
Namaste. If you want to follow our other content, you can check us out at BitChute, YouTube, Rumble, and YouTube. And of course, if you're on those platforms, then like, share, comment, and subscribe. And if you're following us on our text platforms such as Facebook, Getter, Twitter, and Parler, then you know how to use those platforms. I should not have to tell you because they're really, really basic. All right, Danny, sign us out.
So we're the Shrewd Dudes, and we always like to remind you, rude when you can be shrewd instead.
All right. So we will... Danny, I know you're going to be going to Kelowna next week. Are you going to be available in any way, or am I going to do the show solo?
I'm not going to bring my computer, but I am going to bring my iPad. So if maybe we can combine for like one.
Okay, so let actually, okay, I can do the show solo on Tuesday. How about we aim to do the douche of the year-end live stream on Thursday?
Hold on. What day is Thursday? What day of the
Thursday is the 22nd.
22nd? That might be doable.
Okay.
Because 24th, 25th, I'm definitely going to be busy.
I'm going to be busy then too. And then the week after, I'm in Kananaskis. So we won't have a show between Christmas and New Year's, and then we will return on the 3rd of January for our regular programming. So I'll be here Tuesday, and then Thursday will be our year-end live stream. So tell people, and then we can kind of address whatever people want to address. It'll be partially douche of the year and partially kind of where do we go from here? How can we improve the show? Chat us up.
We can do predictions.
Yes, we can do predictions. So,
remember last year we had a predictions.
Yeah, we did
episode, and then neither one of us imagined like the Freedom Convoy.
Yes, neither one of us. Well, and we'll kind of go over everything from. We'll go over our predictions from last year and see which ones came true. I know a lot of them actually did not come true because we did not see Kenny being overturned or him resigning.
I predicted that that COVID would last, would keep going, like the lockdowns would keep going. But again, I neither I nor anybody else foresaw the Freedom Convoy, and that had a massive impact.
That had a massive impact.
And I think ultimately because of the Freedom Convoy and what happened here in Coots, Alberta, with Kenny, that led to Kenny being canned, and I think that also led to the lockdowns being abandoned.
That is true.
Basically. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there are some states in the U.S. that are bringing back mask mandates. There are several provinces that are like on the verge of bringing them back, but I think they're waiting until after Christmas because they know that like mask mandates and gathering restrictions prior to Christmas will cause an uproar.
Yeah.
Because, well, those of us in Canada remember the video, I think it was on Christmas Eve in Quebec.
Oh,
and the cops that like came into the house and they're like, no, get out, get out, get out.
They literally dragged the guy out of his house, like over a screaming family and all that. It was like
very similar to the video that we watched of the police taking the baby. Like there are so many videos of crazy COVID antics, especially of course from New Zealand and Australia. I'll always remember the video of the lady from the lady without a mask, and they like arrested her, and the cops are like, "Do any of you know her?" And they're like, "No, we're just bystanders." "Oh, so we're gonna have to find someone to take her kid." And it's like, are you freaking kidding?
Yeah, it was like the problem here is that they want to normalize this. They want to basically train all of you, all Canadians and all Americans. You're going to learn to get to use the mask until it becomes habit.
Bingo.
And by the way, the mask has nothing to do with science. There is no science backing it. It's all about control. It's about controlling you, making you complicit, because this is how communism works. Remember, these people are communists at heart. The communist way is force you to do something that you know is absurd or something that you know is a lie, so that once you basically start to cave on things that are stupid and absurd and nonsensical, you basically you basically can't object to anything else. It's called demoralization.
Yep.
And that is an absolute tactic that the communists use. And we have a communist-loving dictator of a prime minister who wants to put this everywhere, and they're trying. So this is why I say to people, don't just accept these mask mandates and these like intrusions like sitting down, like, because that's what they want. They want you to just give up and just be like, okay, well, I don't have a choice. Put on the mask and good. You basically like lay down so we can walk all over. Good job.
All right.
Oh yeah.
So
mRNA was tested. No one survived that I know of. I think I remember him mentioning that there was a previous like small sample of people that were tested with mRNA shots, and a lot of them died. It's a big topic, but yeah, just so you guys know, look it up. There is an actual previous test on that. Yeah.
All right. So, yeah, we will talk to everybody later. And yeah, come with questions, come with commentary. We're just going to have a small section about douche of the year on next Thursday, and the rest will be talking about whatever you guys want to talk about.
Amen.
All right. Have a great weekend, everybody. And as always, God bless.
Good night, everybody.